Hello and welcome to another MrMatchat. Things working slightly different this week, as you can probably tell. The video actually is now actually with some face camage video thing. It's so basically it's so you can sort of see me talking for a little bit and hopefully get my points better across with crazy hand actions. That's not going to help at all. Anyway, this week, as you can probably tell by the video title, is Bastion. Bastion's quite a fairly old game now. It was released by Supergiant Games, published by Warner Brothers, I think. Actually, no. I think. if I must admit, if I am wrong, there will be like a little thing at the bottom saying I'm an idiot and I should do my research a little bit more. But it was released a little while ago, and I think I have always previously stated in MrMatchat that I try not to focus on like the newest releases of games because there are quite a backlog of games that I haven't played and I'm not most up to date on everything. But it's every so often that I come across a game that I just play through and I just really just want to talk about it. And that, I think that what in essential in its core thing is what MrMatchat is. It's me talking about games that I enjoy, that I'm somewhat passionate about, that I just thought, oh my god, this is so good, I just want to talk about it. And Bastion is one of those games. A brief lowdown, is that the word? Is that what I'm looking for? A brief description of what Bastion is essentially an action role-playing game, because there's like different weapons, you level up, you sort of have all that thing, but it's the narrative and the general story and some of the gameplay elements that really makes this game just amazing. Really just amazing. And I just wanted to warn you, there will be some potential spoilers, so if you haven't played Bastion, I will leave the spoilers right towards the end, and so I could talk about everything's great about the game, and you'll be like, wow, I really want to play it, you go away and play it, then you, hopefully, if you remembered, I guess Bastion's actually not too long of a game. It took me about, I guess I would say about 4 to 6 hours to complete it all the way through. It's quite a short game. And it was quite cheap if you can get it through the Humble Indie Bundle and, you know, on Steam. There'll be a link in the description below as always. Every so often I just like to stand up and check that it's actually still recording because my camera screwed me up this time. This is my 50-second take. It's not. So, the gameplay. Let's start with the most obvious part about a game that most people would be inclined for. The gameplay is... It's an isometric action-adventure game. It's very easy to play. Like I said, it's... I don't know, I would sort of describe it as similar to Diablo and those sort of like click things, but you sort of have your, you have like 3 abilities at any point. You have your, which you can switch out. You have 2 weapons, which obviously switch out. One bound to left click, one bound to right click. And you have a spell, which is normally your F key. Yeah, or Q. It's a button. it obviously, yeah, it depends if you're playing on a controller, because it offers controller support and stuff like that, so it's a little bit. And there's so much customability, if I said that correctly, in your weapons. As you sort of start off, you start with only 1-2 simple weapons. You start with like a hammer and a bow, and then it quickly expands and evolves until there's a whole, I think there's something like 10, maybe 11, 12 weapons in the game, and each one has the, you know, each unique perks, and they can be upgraded individually using the currency in the game. And each time you sort of pick up a new weapon, it changes and is so fresh on the style that it's kind of refreshing. And each sort of the spell can normally be bound to one of the weapons, so you can sort of like mix and match which weapons you find good, and then have a spell with one of your favorite weapons. Personally, I opted towards the shotgun, or like the sort of like the buckshot in the game, and the machete. The machete, which it's alternate fire, you could hold down and throw them, and it just was really like quick and slashy. I had it so it did burn damage over time, and it was. I must admit, like, I guess it is sort of like they every time you sort of come across a new weapon, they make sure you can sort of get good use out of it before switching back to what you're comfortable with. And I don't know. I must admit, like, I don't know if I technically played the game the right way, but I think it is enjoyable to sort of have that that personalized feeling on the game, saying, oh, these are my favorite weapons, I'm gonna save that money and spend upgrades only on these weapons. And because you're only limited to 2 sort of thing, there is enough variety that, you know, you sort of work out what weapons you need for what situations, and if you get a good mix of things that solve. It works as well quite nicely. One of the great things about all the weapons as well is the fact that as you sort of play through, you open up more and more proving grounds, which is like essentially challenges, and you can play through these challenges as many times as you want. That each one is like a unique mini game, and it's just it's fun. Each one is fun, except some of them which become a little bit infuriating when you're just that far away from getting the gold trophy and you just don't get it. So you just be like, I guess I'm gonna have to do it again then. As I mentioned earlier, talking about isometrics, there are a few problems that the game has. Or at least with I did. Sometimes the floor beneath you and other things like that comes away, and if you do like the enemies fighting stuff like that, and it tends to leave the map full of holes. And the game, or at least I suffered from actually falling through a lot of the holes a lot of the time. I mean, a lot of the time. Sometimes I must admit it was my fault. I just rolled into it. Other times I just what looks like or what looks like could be a path, or sometimes it's quite lenient. So sometimes there would be like a hole that you could just somewhat walk over and just be away with, but you just take that one step too many and then you're falling through. And the game isn't too punishing, literally. You normally, once you fall off the map, it drops you back on, you take a little bit of damage, and you sort of have some retries each level sort of thing. But it does get kind of annoying when sometimes you get sort of like butt fucked in a corner by a singular enemy where you keep dropping you on board and just like, oh, well, I'm falling, and I'm falling again, and I'm falling. Okay, so here we come to the juicy bit, the narrative, the part that I really, really, really like about this game. So, again, potential spoilers. If you don't want the game spoiled in any way, shape, or form, I would suggest leaving now. Or maybe, if you do want the game spoiled and you don't want anyone else to ruin it for you, I will happily take that Bastion. I don't really want to say Bastion virginity away from you. Okay, so the way the game... Oh, I'm just scratching my leg. I'm not used to this whole camera thing yet. Okay, the game will work. Look, there's been this thing called the Calamity, and the Calamity has essentially killed off everyone, or at least a whole load of people. So now you play as a player called the Kid, narrated by a guy called Bucks. Or is it just Bucks? No, Rux. Close. It's like Bucks with an R. But basically, Rux takes the position of the narrator throughout the entire game, and he's got such a smooth, rich voice, and just the writing of his character alone is just amazing. It really draws you in, and you just sort of like, you play through the levels as if only to continue to hear his voice at sometimes, because it's just the narrative and story, the way that he tells it is just so captivating, which is really good. And what you have to do is, you play this thing called the Bastion, is actually a floating bit of space in which can restore and fix things. But what you need is these things called cores. So the game plays out is you go from the Bastion to go out and collect cores, to therefore, fix the calamity that caused everything and whatnot. But another part which sort of links is, each time you collect a core, it allows you to build a building inside the Bastion. And you can sort of build the Bastion however you want. There's like individual slots where you can place things, but there's no limitation, so it's not like you get a core and then the building's built here. You get to pick where you place it, which I know it's a really trivial thing, but it just adds that sort of like, that you personalize the Bastion yourself. You sort of pick, oh, I want this here, I want this next to there, and then you sort of like care for the place, because you've sort of had that investment to sort of design it, or have some sort of feedback on when you sort of continue to get these cores and continue to build it up, which is just great. The main reason why I want to talk about the narrative in Bastion is because of the ending, and this is where all the potential spoilers comes in floods and stuff like that, because if we're talking about the ending of the game. The game has a choice at the ending of the game, which is just, it's not just a meaningless choice as has been with like other games like the Mass Effect series and stuff like that, where everything sort of leads to the end, because they haven't sort of had all the staggered choices towards the end, like where you have all these off-branching shoots and stuff like that. The fact that right at the end you only have one meaningful choice, they really hit you hard with it. Basically, to sort of clarify everything, is the Calamity is essentially genocide. of a certain race of people that backfired. And you have the choice at the end to reverse all the effects or activate the Bastion's other... So basically the Bastion can either reverse the effects of the calamity and bring everyone back to life, or the Bastion can act as a escape vessel. And that way the calamities happen and you just sort of live in that world. But from the characters you sort of meet and stuff like that, you're torn. Obviously, the calamity was a horrible event and you want to undo everything that happened to it. But then you are intentionally making it the life worse for certain people that you've sort of met along the way. And I guess it does sort of come down to literally like, do you want to reverse the world, or do you want to be really nice to a girl that you might have a crush on? Which I let everybody die. It's hard for me to sort of say why it impacted with me so well, but it was just the setup and everything leading up to that point, all the sort of like the like I said, the way the guy who plays Rux speaks and the way that he tells the story, you're just taken along this ride and you get sort of caught into the world of Bastion, and at the end of it you sort of think, do you want the world that you're living in now to end, or do you want to continue, or just go back and try and undo everything that's sort of happened that led to this point? And the character you play as the kid, that's all he's sort of mentioned now. It's like he never really you sort of get his story through the narration of Rux. He doesn't speak for himself. He's a silent protagonist and stuff like that, and it just works. It's the fact that you have someone speaking for you and speaking through you. It just sort of speaking through you. That sounds a little weird. It's good. It's good. I think it is testament to a game that after someone finishes playing it, that they're just urging or just really find the need to talk to someone about it, or just tell people how good of a game and make them want to play it. Bastion's one of those games for me. I played through it and I really want to tell other people to play it, and I thought it was better to tell the internet or a spontaneous camera than walk around my house telling people to play it. It's not many people. I mean, there are people here. They just make me live in the basement. Literally, I am in the basement of my house right now, because I live here. There's my bedspread. Go play Bastion. I think that's suffice to say. I don't feel like I need to say anything more on the subject. It's just a really good game, and it's just one. It's short. It's like I said, it's 4 to 6 hours. It won't take you long to get through it. It took me 2 evenings, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed them both. That's why I'm talking about it, because I really did enjoy it. So I've been MrMatchow. As always, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, all that shizness, and I will see you guys next time. Oh, be sure to let me know in the comments what you think about this whole new layout thing, and if you can see the improvement in production quality, and because I've actually had to splice videos, which I just can't imagine me doing. Okay, peace late. Bye. I can wave now. I can actually wave. That's weird. Goodbye.